most challenging part of life seems to be sometimes to be drawn to a mission, change your life, gather the courage, gather the vision. But very often when we hit that mission, then it's hard to pivot out of it because we feel that's our calling. And we have harnessed so much of our energy and so much of our resources and made such sacrifices. And often you have people who hit a mission and entrench themselves in a groove, and then they repivot and they face a different mission. I think a lot about Yaakov Avinu, who was always pivoting, was always readjusting the goalposts that he was trying to accomplish. And Yaakov's this image of someone that adjusted in midstream, the very famous Rashi in Vayeshev, Bikesh Yaakov, Lashev B'Shalva, V'Kafas Alav Rogzel Shel Yosef. Rabbi Berman, you're a person of vision, and hopefully we'll talk about some of those vision, but incredibly, you've pivoted not just once in your life after achieving a certain vision, but twice. And just to give a little bit of a background, Rabbi Berman was a real well-known, successful, highly respected, highly influential rabbi and teacher in the United States until he made Aliyah. And then he spent several years here in Eretz Yisrael having similar impact, then pivoted again when he heard that mission calling him back to be the president of Yeshiva University. So hopefully this will be a night of mission and a night of Mesiras Nefesh to Am Yisrael. We're Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, not just in the great martyrs who are Moser Nevesh, Al Kiddush Hashem, like Rabbi Akiva, and the people we'll live through over the next 24, 48 hours, but through our lives dedicated to being Marbik Kvod Shemayim. So thank you for being Marbik Kvod Shemayim, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Targin. I really appreciate those words. It's very meaningful. And, as we approach Tisha B'Av, there's actually no better way than reflecting a little bit together with people who I feel very much at home. This is very much my home. Obviously, not just Neve Daniel, that is my home, but I mean Yeshivat Har Etzion and everything that we stand for collectively.
So by way of starting, every person who accomplishes great things has met great people who've endowed them with greatness. It's often said that you can endow information and knowledge and skills you can learn from a book. But greatness has to be endowed. It has to be delivered. Moshe delivered greatness to the people in his orbit. Tell us about the great people you've met in your life and how they've changed your life.
So without ranking them, but more so, I can even do it chronologically or actually spatiology on this Zoom call. Let me first say that I see that my mother is here and my father's watching. So there's no question that the people that most impacted me are my parents. And they are the ones that, it's not just about infusing the values, it's really the love and the nurturing and the care. There's so much on the emotional, spiritual basis that allows you to shine. You need people who believe in you. You can't do anything if you're not nurtured on people who believe in you. And my parents have always believed in me, and they've made that clear. Loving me unconditionally and knowing that, whatever I would want to set my eyes towards, they would support. And on very unorthodox, pardon the phrase, decisions that they would support. And as my backing, as my strength from the beginning of my time till now, there's no question that is first and foremost. I also, I see amongst me here a number of my family, and besides the great support from my cousins that are all around here, I would also mention, I don't know if he's here, but my Uncle Julie and Aunt Dottie, visionary leaders of Yeshivat Har Etzion, my uncle always set the lodestar for great communal success. And, in addition to being a role model, always gave me the guidance that I needed. I was always one step ahead of the game because I had my uncle with me, and he was always 3 steps ahead of the game. So I, as a crucial figure for me. I'd also mention, just looking here, I see that Ted Comet is here. Ted Comet, for those who don't know him, is one of the great Jewish communal leaders of our time, a man who's now, closer to the 3-digit age than most of us at the moment, has spent decades and decades just in love with the Jewish people and giving of his life to its support. I spent many years at the Jewish Center walking with Ted Comet, and Ted always gave me a breath of what the Jewish people were, and helping me aspire for great achievement. I also want to talk about a young Rabbi Mesh Taragin. I don't know if I've said this enough, Mesh.
Can I mute you? I can mute you.
But Rabbi Taragin was a real central figure in teaching me how to learn. And when I was in Gush, I came to Gush Shana Aleph. I had the great zchus of learning with my cousin Ellie for Night Seder. Ellie and Mesh are very close friends. And Ellie was the first one who introduced me to the Gush Derech. And I didn't understand, Rav Lichtenstein's Hebrew was so hard, and it was so difficult. And Ellie really took me, yad biyad. And I'm such a karsatov for Ellie and what he did for me, with patience and calm and love and care. Just amazing. He was my older chavrusa. We learned at night, and just really transformative. Ellie is another crucial figure for me. It then brought me to Shana Bet, and I needed to learn how to learn on my own. And I have this zchus of being in Rabbi Taragin's chaburot, and I would not be the learner, or I would not be, who I was able to grow to without Mesh's absolute stunning breadth and depth of knowledge, methodology, really walks you through development, personal attention, personal care. What I received at Gush, both from Ellie and then afterwards from Mesh, it's just, words can't describe how important these people sitting in this room have been for me. But if I have to speak about one person who's not in this room,
I think we ran out of time, so I think we're going to stop here.
I have to speak about one person who's not in this room, and that is Mori Rabbi Rav Lichtenstein Zatzal. Yeah, I was sitting in his house when I heard he passed away. It's like a pain. We talk about great men. Wittgenstein was really, he was just on another sphere of somebody who embodied integrity and honesty and goodness and life and righteousness and seriousness and learning and joy of mitzvot, simchas chaim, from learning. As a Rebbe, as a mentor, I spoke to Rav Lichtenstein hours and hours and hours of my life, and he was so, at each turn, you mentioned the turns in my life, I spoke to Rav Lichtenstein about them. Every major decision was with Rav Lichtenstein's guidance and direction. What's so difficult is with him not here. And even when I decided to become the president of YU and Rav Lichtenstein was not here, I often turned to what Rav Lichtenstein would have said to me if he was here. And it's a very important life lesson that people who pass away aren't really gone. They can still speak to you. And I still speak to Rav Lichtenstein. I have two pictures on my desk at YU. I have one of my family and one of Rav Lichtenstein. And you know, I hope that he's you know, will remain proud of decisions that I make, and I certainly continue to consult him. But he is, when you talk about greatness and aspiration, you know, Ruchzin said that the Rav, you know, when they asked for a role model, they said the Rav and Ravar and Salvation. So the Rav was some way that we can never, you know, ever reach. So Ravar and Salvation, you know, okay, so Ruchzin is like the Rav compared, you know, what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it gives a lodestar. You know, it's a shining example for all decisions and all things in my life.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's very powerful, and thank you for letting us see into that inner world that was obviously responsible for creating such an image and an imprint on you. Is there anyone that you'd say we'd be surprised at that had a deep impact on you? Obviously, parents, friends, mentors. What about people that are not in the expected lineup of rabbi president of YU? Someone you met, someone you read about, someone you think about from time to time. I wish I could model myself after that person.
Well, I don't know if I'd model myself after the person, but Thomas Hardy was played a sizable role in my maturation. And I remember when I was in Gush and I started to read seriously. And when I read Tess of the Dubervilles and just the inner life of Tess, you know, just the righteousness of a person with such hard times and hard life circumstance. It was deeply touching to me, and you know, gave me an insight into humanity and also a love of reading. Jude the Obscure, I don't think was as good actually, but Tess was really, it really captured me. And it was my first year in Gush, Shana Aleph in Gush. It's so nobody knows this, but Thomas Hardy, I would say, actually, an outsized role.
For me, it was the Hardy Boys. I guess that's why you directed the university on Shana Aleph Rebbe about that.
I know that that's not the case, man. Yes.
Okay. But you used the word twice that struck me. When you talk about the traits, so there's Hasmada and piety, Frumkeit and vision, use the word righteousness, both when you describe Rav Lichtenstein and when you described your impressions from reading Thomas Hardy. What does that mean to you? How does that apply? It's a very general, it could be a general phrase. Right means a lot of things. What does it mean in your life to be righteous?
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you, I have really new insights into these things. This is a great conversation. Just by the way, just to schmooze between us. But I'm saying my life experiences have really introduced me to totally new worlds, like totally new worlds on a number of levels. But here, you know, now I'm a rabbi. I gave shir, but I'm now very much in the world of business. You know, running a university and an operation, and you see how people act in the context of business. And you know, this isn't just righteousness as a you know, doing mitzvot, you know, and objectively in good times. These are it's really like an Aristotelian character, you know, a being. You know, it's what you learn, and this is the method of how to get it. What you learn and what you internalize. Righteousness comes out at all times, expected and unexpected. It's your gut. It's really, it's how you react to situations. And, you know, you could be put in very uncomfortable positions with some very serious people needing to say, no, we don't do that. You know, or we're not doing that because it's not right. You know, and it's really like being out and seeing just the choices that people make, and really the split second, it's character. It's like the split second, you know, it's not even conscious. Like I've been in rooms, in boardrooms where, you know, somebody suggested an idea that would be, I don't mean our boardroom, God forbid. I mean, you know, other people's boardroom. Everybody in our boardroom is righteous, but I'm saying, and where some people suggested an idea, and it was really very close to, like, it was towing a line, but like over. And one guy was like, yeah, we can make so much, let's do that. And others were like, we're not doing that, you know? And like just watching that play. So there are many dimensions to righteousness. And one of the things that I'm seeing just in this world now is how it comes out in the everyday, you know, in high stakes, you know, not just in the home, in the workplace, and in the boardroom. It really comes out.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about those shifts that we spoke about before. You're a rabbi in the Jewish Center. You're well respected mechanech. You start to build your family. Essentially, the American Orthodox Jewish community has paved the way to your future. You're involved in meaningful contributions. You, I'm sure, feel fulfilled, satisfied. All of a sudden, there's this little bug ricocheting in you about Israel. Was it about 10, 12 years ago? I just don't know the exact date. How long ago was it?
Like now, 13, yeah.
13 years ago. How'd you do it? Give us that. When you looked in the mirror, what did you say? What's that phrase you said just to get your conscience over the hump?
Sure. I mean, the phrase that I do say is, and not to parallel a phrase in broader society, but it's really, what does Hashem want from me? What I aspire to, and I'm not saying that I've reached it, but what I aspire to is to be an Eved Hashem. So I don't aspire to be a physician. Like, that's not my aspiration. My aspiration is to do what Hashem wants from me. You got to figure out what Hashem wants from you, you know, and that changes, you know, depending on the circumstances that one's faced and the opportunities that one's given. And I would say it's true always, but certainly today, by the way, today the world is in flux like it's never been before. And in all ways, like the whole concept of a vertical career is, you know, fundamentally shifted. And you need your eyes open, and you need some subtlety and flexibility and really entrepreneurship in order to find the vehicle for you. When it comes specifically to Israel, because that was just that specific example, it certainly wasn't just the bug, you know, towards, you know, in my career. That's something that I was, you know, the values of that was, I was raised on and nurtured at my home. My wonderful parents, who I see now are more watching. Before they weren't. They, you know, the whole love of Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel, everything that it stands for. You know, was from my very beginning and rearing. It was cultivated when I was in Yeshiva Har Etzion. I remember Eli, I think it was Eli who said to me, how many times is, you know, Eretz Yisrael mentioned in the Chumash, or, you know, all those, just, and being in Gush and being in Israel, and it's just the connection, the fundamental connection. And I always knew that I wanted to both raise my children in Israel and see what I can do to contribute to the greatest project, you know, in Jewish history in the past 2,000 years, which is building the Jewish state. So that was always in my head, that I wanted to do that. I always wanted to make Aliyah, and Anita and I always wanted to move to Israel. And we always wondered when. When I was in, and there are different moments, and it's a great frame because they're life decisions. There are different moments in life where you're given choices and you have to decide. So when I was in Grus, I was studying in Israel. I was studying 2 years in Grus, and I was given a choice of teaching in BMT at the time and staying. And Anita and I had no money, you know, but just staying there, or going to Kol Elyon at YU and becoming a rabbinic intern in one of the synagogues. And then there was a choice at which shul, Westside Institutional or the Jewish Center. So I'll take each one separately. So at the time, we're deciding what to do. And every step of the way, I asked Rav Lichtenstein. Every step I asked Rav Lichtenstein. I'll tell you, I'll reveal some of those conversations, but every step I asked Rav Lichtenstein. So the first one was what to do was to stay in Israel. Just stay, make Aliyah. And we decided, it's better to go back to America, build up something, Parnassa-wise, financially, and then move to Israel. Then to where to be a rabbinic intern. So I remember I spoke to Rabbi Meish Tarragon, who told me that I should not choose the easier one, but choose the more serious one, the one that I can learn the most from. That it's a worthwhile investment. Don't just try to skirt your way around to learn an extra hour a week. Like, invest in yourself, invest in your future, find the place that you can learn from the most. That was what you told me. And I did. I went to the Jewish Center under Rabbi Mori, Rabbi Jacob J. Schachter. Also transformed my life in terms of figures who were transformative. Introduced me to Rabbi Norman Lamb in a serious way, helped transform my life. Like all these things came through those decision points. I then continued. It was Kol Elyon, started giving shiur at YU, associate rabbi. Had to decide full-time rabbi or chinuch. It was a whole other story. Rabbi of the Jewish Center. I asked Rav Lichtenstein almost every year, it's like, should I make Aliyah or not? So I'll tell you something that what he said to me. I remember I was assistant rabbi, associate rabbi, young rabbi. I was telling him all these things that I'm doing in New York. So Rav Lichtenstein says to me, lovingly, he says to me, is it really not Efshar L'Kayim Alidei Acherim?
That's about as frontal as Rav Lichtenstein got.
Meaning, just like, I was like so amazing, because like, you could get built up by you doing this incredible things and people, and he's like, just like straight. And that's what I loved about studying the Rav Lichtenstein. I loved to see Rav Lichtenstein is even if he didn't say anything, there was an air of honesty, of MS. He didn't even have to say anything. I remember before I came in, I have all these questions and calculations, and I would sit in front of him, and sometimes I couldn't even utter the words. They were so ridiculous. Like in his face, in his presence, it was so ridiculous what I was thinking. My personal calculation, I said to him, okay, you've already answered. Thank you. You've already answered the question. You didn't have to say anything. So, and then when we were talking about Israel, and there was a point he actually said to me that there were things here that he thought that I should stay. He didn't say that I should just go. It wasn't so pashut. And there was a time where in our conversations and the opportunities that were being offered and that presented themselves, he thought that there was something, he thought seriously about the options in America and the benefits there. It wasn't, but it was just with honesty. It was like really with just like, think honestly. And that helped me enormously. So each step of the way, trying to think about what Hashem really wants from me, try to remove the personal, calculations and the difficulty, with the right guidance from people, was instrumental. It was really instrumental.
Let me take a step out of the chronological timeline. We'll get back maybe to the move back to America. I think that, especially for some of the younger people listening, sometimes when you look at a life, or in this case, your life until this point, in retrospect, it could seem like a very polished ride and sunshine and rainbows and step by step. And of course, we realize it isn't, and it's important to provide a full picture. So taking a step out of this track where everything just works out and slides into success, what's your greatest regret? What's your greatest regret in life?
Well, I don't know if I answered that way, but that's a great point, Nish. It's a great point. Meaning we tell, Rabbi Taggart, we tell our story in narratives. I really am a big fan of narrative therapy. We're still, and that's important
I like all
because
therapy.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's all good. No, but I'm saying the whole idea of going from Ganai to Shevach, that's actually an important point. That to see even dips in the context of springboards for success. So everything should be seen in that in that context, which is what can you learn from. I will say this: I absolutely did not appreciate or fully understand what I was walking into each time I walked into it. Becoming the rabbi of the Jewish Center, I did not fully appreciate what that would mean. I'll tell you a great story about it in 1 second. And then I'm making Aliyah. Oh my gosh, I did not. The challenges of being up. Oh my God, it's wonderful and amazing and incredible and challenging. Like there are a lot of challenges, especially like you have American mindset, American expectations. You come in and you're momish nothing. You start at the ground level. I remember my first class. I went to Hebrew U for years, getting my doctorate. I remember when my first classes after somebody raised. I said something. Somebody raised, and this. I think Ari's wrong. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, first of all, who's Ari? Like nobody called me Ari in 10 years at the Jewish Center. And secondly, how can I be wrong? Like nobody said to my face that I was wrong, like behind my back. I mean, they were killing me, but like they didn't say it to my face. And you come to Israel, they have no problem telling you you're wrong. It's a totally different culture. Like sitting in the meetings at Herzog and Heichal Shlomo. Oh my God. It was like, it's wild. It's like a totally different world. It's a totally different world. And you don't expect it. And you don't fully expect it. And one of the things before I took the presidency of YU, Jonathan Sachs says to me, or he said publicly, actually, when in a public event, he said, one of the blessings of youth is that you don't fully understand what you're about to get into, and that enables you to make that decision. So there's certainly been a lot of times when I've turned to myself in all different iterations of these jobs and say, what did I just walk into? Like I had no idea. But I would say this, but that is a lesson. And, I'll throw as much as I can back to Rav Lichtenstein. It's about risk. It's about risk. That Rav Lichtenstein said to me about making Aliyah when I was the rabbi of the Jewish Center, Baruch Hashem, things were well. He said, some people live their life risk averse. That's not how I live my life, and that's not how I tell my Talmidim to live their lives. It's an important life lesson. You want to manage the risks, obviously. You don't want to be foolish, but there's a real balance between that and at the end of Yaakov's life, Bikesh L'Shevet B'Shalva. Like it was then he wanted to L'Shevet B'Shalva.
How about, if not regrets, how about a do-over? If you can go back and get one do-over in life, one decision, what would they? If you only got one, what would the do-over be?
The do-over be, I'm such charata and tshuva. There's so many things I've done wrong. Usually, I can't be mefarsin.
I don't mean a decision.
A life decision. Let's see, what's a good life decision that I would do differently? What's a good life decision? I'm happy with my life decisions. What's a good life decision? I could say marry my wife earlier, but that would be hard. We're married so young. I like pretty much the general course. I think I appreciate it then. I would say at the time I also appreciated it, so I wouldn't say that'd be different. what would be a major difference? I can't think of anything like that, a major life decision. Like there've been mistakes along the way, but the question is the facts on the ground when you make it, you know, and the ability to pivot when necessary. I guess one major life decision that was it worked out, but it was really foolish, was making Aliyah without anything planned. I really strolled into Israel as a student of Hebrew U, and I was gonna look around and figure it out, and it's really hard to do that. You know what? This is a good. I'll tell you a good. This is a good life lesson. Actually, this is actually a good one, which is minimal viable product. We can overthink so much, and you have to just get out there and do it, and then fix it, and make it better. So I came into Israel. It took me a very long time to find the direction that I wanted to take, because I was really insistent on a certain kind of opportunity, and it was, you know, I've only now I understand how success actually happens. That you need to get out there, you need to act. You know, so I spent years and years and years. You know, probably a little too many in Israel before getting out and taking my shot.
So getting back to the timeline, so you had moved to Israel. Take us into your mindset. It doesn't have to just be what you thought then, but in your mind then and now, what can Israelis learn from American Jews? What values, what orientations, what do we have to learn from it? Obviously, you still think about it now, but my question down the line is going to be, what can American Jews learn from Israelis? But let's focus on what we can learn from them. A lot of Israelis don't fully understand. They tend to trivialize the American culture. They don't really get it. Why are they moving here? What can we learn? 2 or 3 quick ideas.
Yeah. First of all, it's very true. I remember I wrote one year for one of those Shabbos weeklies in Parshas Lech Lecha. I wrote a piece that Abraham Dafka came from Chutz La'aretz, so he could bring the perspective of an outsider to Israel, which is very helpful, so he could critique the society. I mean, the idea of the Avot being shepherds are, as opposed to Yitzchak, who wasn't, but I'm saying about Abraham and Yaakov and Moshe, someone who stands outside of society and is able to critique it, which is enormously valuable. Now, you also need the Yitzchaks and Yosefs. You need the farmers to actually live in the society themselves. That's crucial too, and it's that exchange that becomes beneficial. So I wrote this whole piece about Abraham being an outsider. I got back from a lot of Israel. What are you talking about? You're supposed to fast 40 days after you move to from Chutz La'aretz to forget all the Torah that you learned in America, and you come here and then you learn new. So it is very there's much that we contribute as outsiders. There's a lot to say on it. I mean, from culture and not. I'll give you one thing that certainly is very current in America, but it's also true living here, which is how we look at the non-Jewish other. That is a big difference. That's born from, you know, probably the difference between Rav Kook and the Rav, and the difference between living in a context surrounded by enemies versus a context fundamentally surrounded by friends who are non-Jews. And I'm so enamored with this topic. I wrote my PhD on Ger Toshav, the medieval perspective of the non-Jewish other. So it's actually something that has yet proven to be of great marketable value, but I think I'm the world's expert on the medieval perspective of Ger Toshav. But that comes, and it's all part of this. I remember when I taught my course in Herzog on the non-Jewish, on Goy, so I could teach the course in Herzog, and they were stunned when they saw, you know, Gemarot and Rishonim that had a favorable or potentially positive impression of the guy. Similarly, if I taught that class at YU, Bezrat Hashem, I should have a moment. If I taught that class at YU, they'd be stunned at the absolute harsh rhetoric that you see in many, Gemarot and Rishonim on the non-Jew. That's a very interesting divide where the conversation could be very beneficial. There are others, but it's a very interesting one.
Okay, fast forward for us now. Spend all that time articulating and formulating. Then you made your move a little earlier, a little later. You're now in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe some more people are calling you Rabbi Berman or Rav Berman. I'm sure most people are calling you Ari. But
Rav Ari at most.
Right, okay, it's always good to have a little ego padding. And
yeah.
But at least it seems as if the horizons of hope are unfolding, and you can see the future. The future seems pretty bright, solid, stable. And then all of a sudden, how do you do a 180? And
we had a great, Baruch Hashem, Aliyah was, again, it was challenging, but it was wonderful. Like the big question is the kids, are they able to make it? And will they find, each of them find their way in Israel? And, Baruch Hashem, that seemed to us after, living in Israel for, it was about, 10 years, 8-9 years. We thought that they were, they were doing well and things were great. I had a great job. I loved what I was doing. I thought it was great aspirations in building Merkaz Torah and Heichal Shlomo with our great partners at Herzog and Yeshivat Har Etzion and all these wonderful pieces. My office was mamish, the middle of the Merkaz, the middle of Yerushalayim, Eretz Kodesh. Like things were great. It was really great. I remember when I first came, I'll tell you another Rav Vilchstein story. When I first came, I sat in Rav Vilchstein's office and I was talking to him about where I should send Shlomo, my oldest son, to school. And, or maybe he was graduating 8th grade. So that year, so where should I send him to high school? And we're going through the different options. And he said, come upstairs, come to the Beit Midrash. Maybe you could start talking to some people. And he brought over Yair, I think. And he's like, Yair, Ari, of course, maybe you could start saying. So I was talking to, I think it was a man, I don't remember who. And without me knowing it, what Vilchstein was doing is he was running on the Beit Midrash. He was running on the Beit Midrash and finding other people. And he was bringing them over to me to talk to me, to give me advice about where I should spend school. And I remember thinking to myself, I left so much, back in America, but if I were more helping me, I just felt like I have a home. Like I'd be okay. Whatever happens, I'd be okay. And that was really just that sense and difficult and changed times, like the comfort. It's so important. So things are going well, Baruch Hashem, it's great. I get a call from Yeshiva University, interested in being the president of Yeshiva University. I, of course, said no. I said, I have a great life. Why would I, things are going wonderfully. I then got more calls about it from more people. People I was very close with in America thought that there was something very important to do at YU and the potential for impact. Not just Yeshiva University, but Yeshiva University to the Jewish world and the broader society was too enormous to pass up. And then I should, should begin that process and see for myself. And we did, and I did do that. With that said, our family remained at the highest, priority in our heads, meaning we have a mission, we have a goal, we have opportunity, but we weren't willing to sacrifice, someone. It's not the Akedah, or we learned the lesson of the Akedah, not to do the Akedah. I should say we didn't want us to do the Akedah. So, there's a lot of family conversation about whether we can do this. You know, I have older sons who stayed in Israel, of course. You know, one who just studied in Gush today, and studied in Yeshiva Har Etzion, actually two of them in Yeshiva Har Etzion, and a third son in the army right now. And we spent a lot of time thinking through, speaking to the wonderful parents, and we were trying our English. And thought that we could make it. We thought that we could do what we needed to do and contribute to America and get stronger as a family, not despite of it, but actually because of it. As I said, you know, it's hard to know what you're getting into when you decide to do this. I certainly didn't think it would be coronavirus, which has upended the world in many senses, but in one sense, very personally, it hasn't allowed me to fly back and forth as frequently as I usually do, and therefore the separation is actually a little more painful and intense than we planned. But that was a lot of our thinking was, you know, of course, the family is as a top priority, and what we can do for Am Yisrael and the Jewish people, and not Israel actually, even from there, Dafka, and ultimately, you know, it's what does Hashem want for me.
Okay, we're going to take a little break now because it's getting a little late, and we're going to fast forward to the lightning round. So this is how the lightning round works. So you guys want to get to know a little bit more about you. So I'm going to say a word, and as best as you can, try to give me a brief answer quickly, without too much thought, what pops into your mind.
Now let me ask you, my things that my speaker's not working. Are you hearing me well? Is everybody hearing me?
I think it's probably your internet connection may be a little weak. I've heard that Alon Schwartz steals all the bandwidth from the Veidania.
Seriously, what are you guys doing over there? Okay,
Zev Berman, maybe you can hack into the system and reroute it. I see it's already starting. Zev Berman's already trying to hack. We got you covered. I think it's just if you're using a speaker, but I think it's just more the internet connection.
Okay. Let me tell me that. Is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Lightning round.
Here's the lightning round. What word comes to your mind as soon as I say it?
I'm really bad at this, by the way, but good.
Just think $20,000 permit. Come on.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Poor man's Alex Trebek. Okay, sure. Rav Amital.
Love.
Okay. Favorite lunch at YU?
I actually, Baruch Hashem, sorry, hamburgers. One of my dreams is having a calf. I'm on the 12th floor, right next to the 12th floor calf. I'm like in great shape for lunch at YU. Baruch Hashem. It's a good system.
French fries or just hamburgers?
Definitely. I get hamburgers, French fries, hot dog. I know. It's like, it's unbelievable.
Okay. Sorry, one of my kids was about to come in, not realizing I was on Zoom.
You can join.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the New York Post front page from that one. Okay. Thank God. Okay. What trait do you work hardest to improve?
It's not a trait, but serious learning. It's very hard to find the time for serious learning. Now is harder than it's ever been before.
President of a major university that impressed you and all your hakafos around. Like, when did you say, this is a really interesting person?
Yeah. I will tell you that the one that I am currently totally impressed, is the president of Cooper Union, who is amazing. I've met the president of Harvard, the president of Princeton, the president of Salt Lake City, of the Mormons, the president of Catholic University, the president of Fordham, Like I've actually went on a whole trip around presidents, and because of this coronavirus, I speak to presidents all the time. Like there's absolute collaboration on how to run a university now. It's amazing. The connection between presidents and universities is stronger than ever. Laura Sparks, who's the president of Cooper Union, is like, she's, I don't know if she'll listen to this, but she's stunning. She's brilliant, vision, knows how to get things done. I mean, she's been enormously helpful to me through this time. Very unexpectedly, people haven't heard of her. She's a star.
Aside from family, what do you miss most about Israel?
Everything. It's my home.
When was your, where in the world am I and how did I get into this moment?
I have that all the time, Ish. I'll tell you one story. This Israeli rabbi comes to my office, and like there's serious things that happen like at YU. Like there's serious decisions to make. There's serious things like that. So an Israeli rabbi knew back in my day, it's just, coming to America for a couple of days, thought he'd just pop by unannounced, and say hello. So he comes to my office, and I forgot what crisis of the day was on my mind. Something was going on, and he's like, "Eza malucha yesh lecha," they talk. I'm like, do you understand? This is not malchus. This is achrayut. This is this is unbelievable with the achrayut that we have, which comes with enormous opportunity. It's enormous opportunity, but the way that they speak of malchut and, there's a certain dati tzioni, there's a certain Israeli, so I remember that day specifically thinking he must have been expecting something else totally different. This is not, yeah.
YU Maccabees.
Amazing. Let me tell you, I could talk about the YU Maccabees. They are amazing. And what makes them most amazing is what you said in the beginning, is that they're a fulfillment of Torah v'Kiddush Hashem. In addition to Torah Ramada, if I had to add another label to YU, I would say Torah v'Kiddush Hashem. We bring our values out into the world. That's what we do. That's what we do best. That's the opportunity that Yeshiva University has. That's the opportunity living in Chutz La'aretz. We could do is bring our values out to the world. We do that in many, many ways. The Maccabees, you would never think of it. Okay, what they do to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim Barabim, not just that they win, but how they win. With the midot tovot and the kindness and sportsmanship, it's absolutely incredible. And the joy that people have around the world when the Jewish team is winning, it's incredible. Chuck Schumer at AIPAC gets up in his speech and announces that the Macs won their NCAA game. 18,000 people were cheering, right? There's nothing else 18,000 people cheer for except the Macs. They love, these guys are incredible. Torah v'Kiddush Hashem. That's by the biggest surprise is how great we are in basketball, but it's not just that it's not just that they win, but it's how they win. It's amazing.
Wow, so we knew that you were revolutionizing YU, but it seems like you're changing the symbol. Torah and Mac, Torah and hamburgers, Torah and sports.
Listen, we got the Torah and sports combination in America today is hot.
Okay. COVID-19, life skill. What, not cultural values that you've thought about, how did the culture go wrong, Kakwe, but what, go through a crisis, say, oh, now I've got another tool in my toolbox. What life skill is COVID-19 lending you?
Look, the first word that comes to mind is resilience. Resilience is a critical trait. You know, I often, and you think about this, think about in Gush, and you know, you're 18, 19, you think about your life's plan, or even when you're doing a strategic plan on in some you know, project, like you assume that things are going to go well. You know, this will build on this will build on this. But in life, it won't be COVID-19, but it'll be something. Like the disruptance will happen. It'll happen to you organizationally, happen to you professionally, happen to you personally. It will happen. And how you handle disruptance is a crucial life lesson. I've said, and I share this with you in Yeshivat Har Etzion, that next year is going to be the most crucial year for our students' educational lives. Because characters form during times of adversity, and next year, they're going to learn how to handle adversity. And that is very important, especially for this generation, to learn resilience, to learn how to find opportunity and challenge, to learn to fall in the hands of Hashem for support, and yet to stand tall, to move forward. It's the next year is going to be crucial. It's more important than ever that they're around their Abayim, that they're around their peer group, and their friends that elevate them, because it's gonna form the rest of their lives.
You have the privilege to work with a lot of well-known, impressive people, rabbis, rosh yeshivas, heads of departments. But who's the person that you just can't start your day without saying hello to? I come to Minyan every day at 7 o'clock, and the Palestinian group is waiting outside, and I say good morning to them. I just can't start my day without saying Boker Tov. Who's the unknown hero at YU that you just want to give a shout out to? I'm sure all of them, but
there's no question who the unknown hero is, and that's my wife.
At YU, we know that, but at YU.
I just can't say enough of that, which is really, and when you talk about making life decisions, I had the real life unexpected joy of meeting my wife at 17, and she was 16, and so we've grown up together. So every step of the way, it's been with her, and there's nothing that, you know, I've actually talked about life lessons. I've made some decisions at times that when we weren't really together on it, and there were mistakes. You have to really be together. You have to really be together to make serious life decisions. And the love and support and just having someone on your side through everything. I mean, that's the most important. Beyond question is the most important. Everything else. Let's move on, because after that I can't even say anybody else.
Okay. Second to last question, because it's getting late, so we're still in the lightning rounds. There's a lot to talk about, but it's brief. What does the following word mean to you? I know it means a lot, but gush.
You know, I can't, there's a lot to unpack with the word gush. You know, it's so intertwined with Rav Lichtenstein to me, which is so filled with ahava. You know, gush is two things. It's where I live. It's Gush Etzion. It's where my kids have grown up. You know, we've had some really hard experiences. You know, three boys. Gush as a place it's so filled with pathos for us. Gush as a yeshiva is, you know, is Rav Lichtenstein. That's just nice. It's a time of growing up and learning about yourself, and you know, learning how to read both closely and widely, It's a lot of depth exploration. The connection, the Gush Yeshiva University, the Gush YU connection was such an important route that really crystallized. All my thoughts in Gush were crystallized at YU. So much of Rav Lichtenstein was manifested in Rabbi Rosenzweig afterwards. That whole channel, which was seamless and amazing as a springboard for a lifetime of growth. And Gush was really the start of that for me.
Okay, being that we're 24 hours away from the start of Tisha B'Av, I think it's only appropriate to end the conversation on a Tisha B'Av note. Obviously, the challenge in the modern era, we feel that we try to perfect our world. Thank God our world has emerged. Obviously, the year of Corona, there's a lot of pressure and frustration and anxiety. Put us into the mode of mourning. How do we shift to dig deep to a place where we feel loss and absorb loss and suffer? Well, what's your trick?
Well, I'd say I have a lot to say about this, actually. I'll be brief, but I think that there's a very different experience of Tisha B'Av in Israel than Tisha B'Av in Chutz La'aretz, in the diaspora. And I think there's actually a long history of this back from Chazal, about if Tisha B'Av is more comparable to Yom Kippur, more comparable to Avelut, and the intertwining of it. And I think it developed differently at different times of history in Ashkenaz and Sfarad. I really have a whole long play on this, but I would say that I think that in Israel, let's start the opposite. In the diaspora, Tisha B'Av is experienced as a day of mourning of Avelut. I think Tisha B'Av in Israel is not experienced so much as Avelut, because Yerushalayim is not Bechorbanah, and it's being rebuilt, and people don't understand why would you do Avelut? It's not like that. But it's Avelut, as the Rambam says, Liftoach Darchei Tshuva, which is to think about what we're missing in order to move it forward. And it's really a day that begins Elul and a day of Tshuva. And to be clear, I don't think in the diaspora they're mourning, and I don't think in Israel they're doing Tshuva. I don't think either of those things are happening. But when they think about the day, they're thinking that's what they're supposed to be doing. Meaning they're thinking that in Chutz La'aretz of extra long keynote, and we're supposed to be mourning. And in Israel, we're supposed to be thinking about, how do we, walk around the ramparts of Yerushalayim? How do we get move forward more? It's a very different experience of the day. And because I'm in Israel, let me just say that it's very important to contextualize where we are today as Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. It's very important to contextualize today as different than any other time in Jewish history. We are living in the best time, even through the challenges of coronavirus. And as crazy as this is, in this era, we're living in the best era in Jewish history in more than 2,000 years. And we have opportunities today like we've never had before as a Jewish people. And our job is to take what's missing that we focus on Tisha B'Av, what we still don't have, and to be inspired to push ourselves and history forward. We can do it in ways that nobody else can. We have access and influence in ways that the Jewish community never had before. I see this firsthand at Yeshiva University and the people I speak to in America and all around internationally, and certainly because of the state of Israel. And then Hashem gave us this great bracha of Medinat Yisrael. We are in the best position to move history forward. And that's what we should be focusing on Tisha B'Av. There is an avelut of what we're missing, but it's the Toach Darchei Tshuva, to think about not just our own personal tshuva, but nationally, how do we fulfill our mandate and our mission, which is to bring the Geula. That is the point. I talk about YU. I said one of our values is Torah Tzion. Torah Tzion isn't just about supporting Israel. Of course, it's about supporting Israel. It's about bringing the Geula. We're closer, and we have the vehicles to do more than perhaps at any other time in Jewish history, certainly within the last 2,000 years. And to spend the day thinking about what we're losing, but thinking about how we're going to maximize that and do that, that will be a great Tisha B'Av. That will be impactful for the future. That will really lead to Elul and change your year and change the world.
To quote Yeshaya, and to circle back to what you said in the beginning, Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh, v'shover b'tzedakah. If we're all righteous, then in our own worlds we'll redeem them, and then hopefully that will radiate to a broader redemption. Thank you for working on both, and thank you for joining us this evening. And Mirz Hashem, we should see each other in the renewed city of Yerushalayim Kodesh.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi Targum. Thank you for everyone. It's wonderful to be here.